been working in HIV/AIDS prevention since 2019, October 2019. So I graduated with my master's in public health back in May 2019, and then this was my first big girl job. So yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. How did you? I'm going to piggyback off that question. How did you find Harris County? Like,
So I actually was assigned here by CDC. So I
okay,
didn't really have a choice, but I'm very glad I'm here.
yeah,
And yeah, and then in that same way that they assign your host site location, they also assign what you're going to be working on. So I'd never worked in sexual health before, I'd never worked in health education before, but it's been a really good experience and I've learned a lot. And it's also helped me appreciate like a whole new community and a whole new culture. And so it's been great.
awesome. That's really good to hear. So, why do you think communities of color have greater numbers of HIV?
So I think communities of colors have greater numbers of HIV for two reasons or two main reasons. I think that sometimes it's very difficult for them to accept people who don't follow the normal sexual or gender orientation or roles.
Mm,
Um, I think that they apply a lot of stigma around that, and people who feel a little bit different in terms of their sexual orientation or their gender, they decide that they are going to keep it to themselves, or they just don't have anyone to confide in within their community. That's the first reason. The second reason is I feel like a lot of stigma surrounds sexual health, whether you're male, female, an adult, or a child. I don't, or younger. I'm sorry, not a child. Younger. Sexual health is not something that's really openly discussed, at least in Hispanic communities. I think that there's a lot of stigma, and we're not really encouraged to question or ask questions or kind of, I guess, ask for opinions from adults or whatever in our
yeah,
not sex lives, but just like in our journey, like to understand
right.
ourselves and our bodies and why are we feeling this? Why am I thinking this? And no one tells us it's okay to question. It's okay to uh, 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 think of, just think
Yeah,
differently. So,
yeah, I can. That I mean, that makes sense. I remember like when I was a kid, the idea of talking to my parents about sex always felt like it was layered in like shame or just something you don't
mhm,
really discuss. And
yeah,
I don't even think there was a term for like the English equivalent of birds and the bees. I don't even know if
there
there was.
is. There is. And you know what? It's really funny because, like, my brother, he's 18 now, or about to turn 18. And he would ask me, like, in middle school, he would ask me things. And I was like, oh, because, like, you're my brother. So I was kind of weirded out. Not
Yeah,
weirded out. I don't want to say that, but just a little bit. But I think because my dad wouldn't talk to him about it. And
right.
so, I would talk to him about things and I'd be like, have you talked to any guys or men about this? And he's like, well, no, so I would try to have him reach out to like my older cousins and
Yeah.
stuff. And then one of my cousins recently, he just came out to everyone as gay. And so, he was very afraid to tell me and stuff. And I was like, I work in like sexual health and stuff. And he's like,
Right.
well, yeah, but I was just scared because my parents are pastors, they're Pentecostal pastors. So he's like, I didn't know how you were going to react and blah, blah, blah. And we're pretty close. Um, he just started going to college this past year. And so I was just like, well, no, I was just giving him, like the talk, like the sexual health, this is what you want to do. You always use protection, blah, 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 blah. If you have questions, let me know. But of course, who was he going to talk to about that?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes the older siblings or older cousins become take the parents' role because They're too scared to talk to the parents, and maybe the parents aren't equipped with how to speak to their kids about sexual health. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's sexual health. It's not like, oh, it's like a, something to be ashamed about. But yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I see that. I mean, coming from a Hispanic background, I feel like that's totally been like my history. And I think that happens in other communities of color.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that actually answers the question as to why we have greater numbers of HIV. Um, what are your thoughts on reducing stigma? Like, how can we do that?
I think there is a lot of ways we can reduce stigma. I think, I know everybody always says education, education, but a
Mhm.
lot of times that is a really good way to help people understand that the microaggressions they're having are contributing to stigmatizing sexual health.
Right.
And so, but I think that there are different strategies depending on the population you want
Mhm.
to target with your education. I think there's different strategies to use. For example, if you're going to talk to older adults or, versus a younger population, you can't do it in the same way.
Right.
So I think really just having those conversations and openly talking about it and not ourselves making sex something weird or
Yeah.
something uncommon or taboo, but just saying, this and this happens. Like, even if people are not having sex, they might be doing other things, they might be asexual, they may be just sex is part of our everyday lives, like with TV, the media. And so I really think that just starting those conversations with people around us as public health people, then we can really just kind of open their eyes and their understanding about sexual health, and it just kind of hopefully creates a ripple effect, and other people will learn about it too. So that's one way. But I also think, going back to us being public health professionals, we definitely need to start from the inside out, because I think that we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different um, knowledge of sexual health. We all have our different internal stigmas that we don't even know that we have. And I think that we definitely need to create a culture within our departments, within our healthcare systems, whatever it may be. We need to create a culture of really understanding where people come from and of cultural humility
Yeah.
in everything we do, in our activities, in
Yeah.
our communications with each other. And then that will translate to our communications with our clients and people from the public, and our writing and everything we do. And I think that's something we could actively need to work on. Uh,
Definitely.
so, yeah.
Yeah, it's an ongoing endeavor. It's not going to be like a one answer fits all. But yeah, I think that what our team is doing is helping, and I think that they're like. My last question is about Harris County Public Health's testing 123 HIV prevention program. How do you see it? How does it act differently from other programs you may be aware of? Like, what are we doing right? And
Okay. So what we're doing right, I think, is, well, I think that we have a lot of people that really care on our team, that are very passionate, that are, part of the Harris County community, and just really care about the work
Mhm.
that we're doing. And I really like the idea of the mobile testing, where we're going to people, they're reaching out to us so we can go directly to their homes. That takes away a lot of the pressure of going into a clinic or going into whatever setting. Like, they're
Yeah.
coming to your environment, and that really helps, I think, anyone who might feel just some sort of way about getting tested for HIV. I also love that we are very open about talking about sexual health with people when we're out in the community. It's just like, yeah, this is, you know, this is what it is
This
basically.
happens, yeah.
No, yeah, yeah. And so there's no, from my experience being here, a year and a half almost, like there's no stigma around it in our conversations, like even in our personal conversations we're just really open and very accepting, and so I mean that is the culture that we've created, and I think that really translates to the community, and that really reflects in the work we do and our efforts.